Well, we have rounded up here again in Cedar City, Utah for another Built to Hunt podcast. If you remember, about a year ago, we had the boys from Peak Refuel in-house with some exciting announcements. Well, we've come a long ways from then. 2020 is over. COVID is almost over. Barely over. Yes. And so we're excited to announce we have Bart and Seth from Peak Refuel in the house here with us.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
And we've also got Chad Money Mendes calling in on Zoom.
What's up, guys? Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good to have you, Chad. Now, of course, why did we bring these brainchilds together? Because you guys have something super exciting to announce. You're bringing back some of our specials from last year. And what else? Tell us about it, Bart.
Yeah, well, as you know, we got the 𝗀़cie and the Bison last year. Was a big hit. Obviously, they're Chad's recipes. This collaboration we've worked out with Chad for quite some time, and it was such a success last year, and we wanted to make sure we jumped on that train again and anniversaried it this year for 2021, but not just bring back the classic 𝗀़cie and Bison, but to add a little twist to it and add a third meal. And that's what we did. So we put Chad to work, about how many months ago in the making, right after the campaign ended last year on a new recipe.
The last year, the limited series ended last year, and I pinged Chad really, I don't think that long after. I said, hey, brother, we need to start kicking around a new recipe. Do we want to try this again? And of course, Chad, he's an encyclopedia of good game meat recipes, and so Chad gave us a few options, and ultimately in January, we flew Chad and his family out, and what did we do? We hunkered down for a few days, and I think we had Chad came up with 3 or 4 different recipes, and so we had tuned up. I want to say we came to that meeting with 3 recipes that we felt like could be market ready, and dialed in. And ultimately, Chad took his pick of which meal we wanted to roll with, which is again originating from his recipes, and we came up with a good new meal for this year, and it's Venison Country Casserole.
That was the hardest part, was coming up with a name, right? I think the gloves went on when we were deciding what to name it, right, Chad? He ultimately won, obviously.
Yeah. We had a handful from. I think the hardest part was choosing from those 3 meals. I mean, I think we have those in our back pocket for sure. There was the other 2 meals were so good to me, and it was very difficult for me to choose this one, but this one had the slight edge because for me, I'm a big biscuits and gravy flavored kind of guy. Like, I love that creamy, hearty, something that's going to stick to your rib type food. My wife's the complete opposite typically, but that's my style of eating, man. I love that stuff that's just going to stick to the rib. So I think of the 3, this one, I basically chose that one because it's one of those types of meals. And, last year being in the backcountry, doing that Alaska 𝗙cie hunt, and we were living out of our packs for 10 days. And, that the Bison ranch mashers was, in my opinion, probably the most filling meal that we had in the backcountry between me and all my buddies that we were with. And towards the end, we were all kind of fighting over like, hey, I'll trade you like this and this for one of those, because we were all starving for those calories. We wanted that meal that was going to stick to your ribs. So I'm like, we got to create something this year that's similar to that. I think that did really well in the moment, and being in the backcountry and using it for what its main purpose is. And so we came up with this. This is something that's very creamy. Can we talk about the meats here?
Sure.
We sourced some red stag from New Zealand, which is super cool. I've gone out there and done those hunts, and have a lot of buddies that have gone out and done that hunt. And the meat is absolutely amazing. So being able to bring that venison page now to the Bison and the 𝗀़cie, I think is kind of the full package there, in the sense that you have it, all the way across the board with your venison. So to me, it's like I said, it was the hardest thing was trying to pick that meal of the 3, but I think we went with the right one this time.
Oh yeah.
I think one thing Chad's really good at with this particular recipe when he built it is a lot of people are nervous when they hear venison and the taste of it, right? It's not like elk or bison, right? It's got a completely different profile to it, and the combination of the ingredients and what he formulated in this particular recipe complements the venison perfectly. He's done a tremendous job.
The real world application of those meals last year, we launched these 2 meals, and obviously Peak, part of our standard in creating meals is to create a meal that hits all the macro needs that people have and care about today, whether it be fat content or protein content or calorie, especially calories per ounce. If you're doing a 𝗙cie hunt up in Alaska, I mean, you're calculating how many ounces you're packing for 10 days, and the calories per ounce really matter. And so last year to roll
the
them
amount
out,
of water to rehydrate.
Oh yeah, totally. And so the real world application and experience of the meals last year, we got a ton of great feedback. I mean, the Bison mashers, there's 1,100 calories in that pouch. The new meal, the Venison Country Casserole, 920 calories. You're talking about meals that are dense, but they're not dense with food that you're not used to consuming.
Right.
They're dense with real ingredients. We don't, the drill. We don't pack it full of fillers or cheap. We don't go cheap on this at all. And so to have the hearty comfort food vibe of a meal that Chad was looking for, combined with those calories that are so needed when exerting that kind of energy day in and day out, it's exactly this. These meals are literally. These meals are created for the outdoorsman in the fullest sense, and giving them all that they need. And so, it's not just a flashy, hey, we're using different meats. No, we're formulating and creating these meals on a food science level to give what everyone needs: good flavor, good macro levels, and ultimately the energy you need to keep going. So. Good.
Chad, what's your history with this meal? I know you explained to us last year, like these were some of your favorites to make in camp or in elk camp or for your family or friends. Like, where'd you come up with this casserole? Have you made it quite a few times? What's the deal with that?
So kind of a cool story. So, and I don't think we were messing around with this quite yet last year when we talked, but me and a good friend of mine, we signed a national publishing deal with Ben Bella Books. And over the last, year, I'd say a little over a year, we've been working on a wild game cookbook. So we've been basically just stockpiling all of our favorite recipes that we've ever come across or created or, made for friends, family, and just basically put together this whole huge cookbook that we're launching in November. And this was a recipe that we had kind of toyed around with red stag, with axis deer. I've even made it with some black-tailed deer from here in California. And then just kind of, it's one of those things where you just kind of tweak until it becomes what it is. And that's basically what that recipe came from. It was something that I had kind of messed around with. Like I said, the fill of biscuits and gravy, where you get that really creamy gravy, not too floury, but very creamy. You have that meat sauce in it is what it feels like. But then you also throw in the carbs. So obviously not the biscuits, because we already have biscuits and gravy, but you have the feel of like a home hearty casserole with that rice. You got some good vegetables in there. We kind of just played around with a few different game recipes and kind of tweaked it until it turned into that. And like I said, the three meals we came up with were very close as far as picking which one it's going to be. It was very difficult, but I think that one, like I said, had the edge because of the heartiness of it. And like I said, I'm just a creamy type of guy. So
wouldn't take that, right? You wouldn't think that he's a creamy type of guy, right?
Yeah, I'm checking my watch to see when I put
Chad,
that 10
I look more
minutes
like
on.
a creamy kind of guy.
You want to talk about?
I'm the
I
creamiest.
love your butters, your cream, your sauces.
That's
I know, man. I think if I wasn't training and if I didn't compete my whole life, I'd probably be 400 pounds.
You would look like Seth and I.
Exactly. We look like guys that just sit around and eat Peak all day long.
I love it.
That's so funny. It's not it's not, we talked about this last year too, but it's not easy to take a recipe like you and I would create it at home and then scale it to the size we have to scale it to, to produce it at the level we do. And the collaboration and work that we have to do and the different iterations, because I mean during this process, Chad lives in Northern California, we're in Utah. We get an idea or a sampling, and we're sending a white label pouch to him to test and then give feedback to us and back and forth. And ultimately, you're taking a pouch, a 2-serving pouch, and you're having to figure out, okay, how do we deliver this through the process of thousands of pounds of ingredient mixing and cooking and drying and to make sure that flavor profile hits the way it should. And so there's a lot of intricate details in getting to that level, but one of the things that has made it easy is that Chad knows how to cook. Like Chad understands like at a higher level how ingredients work together and how flavor profiles come together, and that helps a ton in making the meal, and being able to create a meal basically from the decision to pick this one to now is only 5 months in the making, and that's fast for what we do.
Considering it took us to come when we launched in 2018.
When we launched Peak, for the first 6 meals we launched, it took us 18 months to develop those.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a process, but yeah, because of Chad's ability and knowledge surrounding food and good meals and good recipes and our core competency at drying them, we were able to pump another good meal out. Really exciting.
Well, and I think that I think one point that kind of segues right into is the difference between freeze-dried and other dehydrated or other meal preparations. If you guys could talk a little bit about that, because again, I think you get a totally different experience from, and I don't think a lot of people still understand the differences.
No, I'll tell you, hunters are vastly more educated, I think, in general on this topic
100%.
than a lot of others, because they understand. I mean, there's so many factors. There's the water factor. There's the weight factor. There's the nutritional factor, that is very different from just traditional dehydrated foods. But yeah, to your point, it's really basic, right? People have been trying to dry and create, shelf-stable foods for thousands of years, right? Simple dehydration is the easiest process, and that's all that is exposing food to high levels of heat for an extended period of time. The problem in that process is that when you expose anything to high levels of heat for an extended period of time, it changes the cell structure of whatever that food is. So for instance, when you take a grape and you dehydrate it, it turns into a raisin. Completely changes the form and the detail and even the flavor of that food.
Nutrients.
Yeah. But when you take a grape and you freeze dry it, all you now have is a grape that doesn't have any water in it.
Yeah.
That's it. It still has the same texture, still has the same flavor, still has the same cell structure. And the importance of that cell structure is through the sublimation process or freeze drying process, you don't break down the cell structure. So that means all the nutritional value within that structure stays the same. It's preserved. It's going nowhere. When you squeeze it and shrink it down through dehydration, the nutrients and everything go with it. And so through the freeze drying process, you're going to get food that goes back to 98% of its original consistency, 100% back to its flavor. All the nutritional value is there as if it was fresh food. And that's clinical data. That's a fact. Freeze dry technology has been around since the 50s. And so there's been plenty of studies to understand just from a nutritional level how superior that process is to traditional dehydration. And so, if you're someone who's serious about not only meeting all the needs that you have in the backcountry in the physical exertion and the recovery that you need, but just simply someone who doesn't want their food to detract from the experience they're trying to have, freeze drying is the only way to ensure that. There's only one way to ensure that by the time the day is done and you've got all those miles behind you, nutritionally, from a flavor standpoint, freeze drying food will always check all the boxes. It'll always show up and be there for you. Now it's a fragile process. It's a delicate process. I mean, the technology behind it isn't simple at all. You're literally taking out 99% of any moisture that was in the food in the first place. But it's done. We do it. The benefit that we have is that we're not a company that's like, hiring another company to go out and do that for us. We have our own dryers.
Right.
We're making this food just like you would at home, and then we're drying it, and then we're packaging. It's all done with under our roof, and so we're controlling the quality from A to Z. You know, we're literally every day at 11 a.m. I walk down to the lab and I'm eating Peak every day. That's how I get so fat. I'm testing those batches one lot at a time. And I'll tell you, and we told you these guys this before, and we still do it. If it doesn't meet, we'll throw it out. We're not putting that in a bag. We're literally trying every day to make sure that anybody who's eating Peak Refuel is getting the best version of it every time. And I
think that's one of our biggest pillars that we have as a company is consistency. Right. Because when you're doing food at this scale, to have a batch, you know, to have the Bison Ranch Masters and the 𝗀cie, we're rolling those out this year. They're going to taste exactly the same as the Bison and the 𝗀cie that went through the dryer last year. And to be able to have that control of quality through the freeze, you won't get that with dehydration. No. You only get that through freeze dried, through certain quality assurances that we make sure are in place with Peak. Like Seth said, every day we go down and we test it, because if one batch is off a little bit, we experienced this recently. So one batch maybe not this particular, another mill maybe a little bit more creamier than what our profile is. It doesn't go through. Yeah. You know, consistency is king for us to make sure that the Peak brand is the same across the board for all mills.
I think it boils down, Jared, just to the difference between freeze-dried and dehydrated is you get what you pay for. A freeze-dried mill is more expensive, but that's because what you're going to be delivered is a superior experience. And that's the bottom line. If hunters care about calories per ounce, they care about how much water they have to use to reconstitute and pack into the backcountry or filter in the backcountry.
You've touched on that a couple times now. How, approximately how much more does dehydration take to rehydrate versus freeze dried to get it to
depends on the mill.
It depends on the mill, but I would generally say at least double. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of mills out there on the market that you've got to put in at least 16 ounces of water minimum.
And this new mill, 8 ounces of water.
Yeah. And the problem is too with dehydrated, going back to reconstitution, you drop a raisin in water, it's not going to turn back to a grape.
Right.
You're just going to eat a mushy raisin. You know what I mean? It's no good. It's no good.
And the rehydration process is longer too.
You're going to take 20 minutes or 30 minutes to get that.
And even waiting, the longer you wait, it's not going to fully come back.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, you can take a 2 ounce serve or a two serving pouch that might only require 8 ounces of water to reconstitute. I mean, that's a huge difference, whether you're filtering it or packing it in.
That made a huge difference in our sheep hunt last year, even a couple elk hunts. But, you're not always able to camp right next to water source. Right. Always, sometimes you see rams that are on this mountain that's extremely high up, and you try to get as close as you can before it gets dark, so that right at first light you can get on those sheep, and there's not always going to be water there. So you're finding water, and you're either having to fill everything up and carry that extra weight with you the whole time, so that you can have water for your food, or obviously drinking, or whatever it may be. So not needing as much water for these, for us, I'd say probably a good 3 times was huge, because people weren't having to set up camp and then go hike out and try to look for little springs or any type of water anywhere. It's like, hey, let me borrow a cup of water. It's like, we'll make that up tomorrow. So that in itself is huge. And then to go back on the freeze drying process, I think that's one of the things for me, anyways, that makes it so easy working with these guys and creating these recipes, is that it's real ingredients, and they're able to freeze dry it to where it comes back to an actual ingredient that I would normally use in my house. Mm-hmm. I was in there eating handfuls of ground, freeze-dried ground meat the other day. I was like, dude, this is amazing. Just chocolate on it, and it's not something that takes 10 minutes to rehydrate in my mouth. I'm just crunching it, and all the flavor just explodes in your mouth, and then you eat it. It's crazy. But I think that's one of the things that's honestly making it so easy. These guys are talking me up like I'm some great chef, but these are just recipes that I make. And I mean, being able to to go through the process that these guys can go through to make these meals, I feel like is what makes these things taste so good. So thank you to you guys.
No, a lot of there are obviously other choices on the market, and they're all trying to do their best at what they know how to do, and that's great. We're doing the same. We're just trying to do the same thing. There's nothing a lot of the companies out there that where you buy these dehydrated pouches, they're just taking all the ingredients and dropping it in the bag, right? And so they're
they're not cooked.
They're not cooked. They're just mixing all the ingredients together, and then the idea is you add water, you stir it up, and somehow the flavors come together. That's great in theory, but that's not how we do it, right? That's not how you cook on a Sunday or anything. You cook. You let the flavors marinate. You let them come together, and we do that. We do it at 350 gallons at a time of food, but
biggest crock pot you've ever seen.
But
I've seen them. I love them. I want to dive in there and eat my way out.
We take baths in there all the time, but
not when we pouch the food.
Right. After celebratory. Yeah. But the idea is we do it just like you would at home. Yeah. We cook it just like you would every day, which is the best way, and not everybody can do that. But through the freeze drying process, the technology actually allows us to do it that way because it comes out so perfectly on the other side. And so we cook it just like you would at home. We marinate the flavors. We stir it around and make sure it has that time to simmer. And then, we take it through the dryers, and that's why when it reconstitutes, those flavors seem like they've been combined and they come together and they hit the spot. As long as we're enhancing the experience, and not detracting from it, like the stigma has always been, you know what I mean? Like I'm getting gut bombs after eating this for 3 days and all that kind of stuff. A lot of that is due to the fact that number one, you're not eating those ingredients often in your normal life. And number two, man, that it's just not, it's not what you need. It's not what you hope. Yeah. And psychologically, man, at the end of a crazy long day on a trail or on a mountain, you need psychologically something to just hit the spot.
Oh, you want something just amazing when you're done with that day.
Yeah. And if we're detracting from that, then we're not disrupting anything. We're not doing our jobs. We want to make sure that people are getting a different experience with Peak, but they're getting the right experience with Peak. And freeze drying and combining those flavors that way have everything to do with it.
Now, Chad, I got a question for you. When they were sending back packets and you were getting these white label packets, trying them out, is there just a moment where you tasted one and you just said, I can't tell the difference? Like, did I just cook this? Like, how close did it get to nailing it as far as exactly what you'd envision and what you would have cooked at your house?
And I almost feel like that's the case every single time. It's just, maybe I think, okay, this one could use a little more salt, or I think the meat, there could be a little more meat, or maybe we have too much meat in this one, or whatever the ingredient, we try to tweak it. But as far as just like reconstituting one, sitting there and tasting it, it really does honestly taste like somebody just created this in the kitchen and I'm tasting it. My wife the other day, actually, she saw, so she's pregnant right now and she's been going through the nausea and nothing ever sounds good. So she saw the coconut curry, the new one that just came out, and she's like, oh my God, that looks so good. She's like, will you make that? And so I created one of those, and that's what she had for dinner that night. And it's like, how cool is that to go from a freeze-dried meal, something that's, I could put in the shelf and the cupboard and it could last forever, or something I'm taking on my hunt. My wife sees it and wants to eat it for dinner. Like that's a pretty special
that's high
product.
Praise right there. Man.
So I'd say it's pretty much all of the sample packets were tasting like a home cooked meal. Ideally, it's just, oh, this one might need a little bit of this, or let's take some of this out type of thing until we get it right. But man, I loved, those were some of my favorite Zoom calls when we got to do the taste testing. Like the box would show up on the front door and I'm like, yes, what do we got? And we just set everything out and then we just go through tasting each and every one. So
I think that's one of our biggest hurdles as a company when we launched just over 3 years ago, was people have this negative stereotype of what freeze-dried meals are. I think we spoke about this before, and just getting people to want to try it, right? When we'd go to shows, the Hunt Expo the very first year, people come by and, I've had that before. I've had freeze-dried foods before.
Yeah.
And it's like,
No,
hey,
thanks.
we're only like 3 months old. You haven't had us before. Oh, no, but I have. I've had it before. And it's like, no, just give it a shot. Just give it a try. And once they taste it and experience it, then it's almost game over. Once they taste it, it's game over because they're not used to anything like this coming out of a bag at all. Everything has been such a negative stereotype, like Seth said, gut bombs, poor experiences in the backcountry. They've been let down before. It's such a mental thing. We talked about this earlier. I mean, the food does the physical the physical components of your body to give you the energy and the strength that you need. But what's often overlooked is that mental mentality.
Yeah, the psychological element. Yeah.
I mean, all of us have been there before on a hunt or on a camping trip or on a backpacking trip or whatever it is. And the first thing you look forward to getting back to the camp is sitting around the campfire and eating. Whether you're eating a freeze-dried food or you're throwing open the Traeger or whatever it is and smoking something or barbecuing, whatever it is, you look forward to eating something good. It's like you've earned it, right? And we wanted to make sure we ticked all those boxes with this. That it's just not another meal in a bag because anyone can put a meal in a bag, right? But can they put a meal in a bag that's going to meet both the physical expectations but also the mental? That it's Seth puts it. He always articulates it very well. That we want to enhance that experience. We don't want to be the meal that takes away from the experience. Right? That's like they've been looking forward it all day. You've backpacked in 20 miles, in Alaska, you open it up and that consistency's not there. Or it's not what you were sold or what you thought it was going to be.
Or you have somebody come back and say, "How was your hunt?" "Oh, it was great, but the food sucked."
Yes.
You
hear
don't
that
want
all
to.
the time.
You don't want to be that. And
It's so heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
It is so heartbreaking because you're hitting the nail right on the head. Like you bust your butt all day long. You're hunting. You're just basically living off little snacks here and there. You never really get that like fulfilling until, at least for us, it was the end of the day. Like you said, you just put in however many miles. Everyone, you break down camp. You set up camp. Typically, at least for us, it was like raining almost every single evening. So you're just like, I just want something that is going to be amazing in my stomach. I want it to taste great. I want to be full and I want to be out of this rain.
Exactly.
And so there's been hunts where before peak, I would eat it. And like you said, you're disappointed. You're like, God, you eat half of it and you're just like, I don't even want to eat this. I'm over it. It's disgusting. And now I'm upset.
And now I got to get up and go chase this ram again or chase this elk again. And it's
So no, it is an awesome experience being able to do all that throughout the day, come back and then have something that is going to be very delicious and fulfill that like big void that you've had all day long. So definitely into it.
For a lot of our listeners that are planning on hunts, going on guided hunts, sheep hunts, or international hunts, I know we've talked to a lot of them now, like take that variable out.
Yeah.
Your outfitter may be a great hunter and a great guy, but the food bag he's going to hand you is probably not what you want. No. And you just spent 10, 20, 30,000 on this hunt. Yeah. It's time to place your peak order, load up your bag. And even if you're not going to take all your snacks or your in-between food, take 3 of these a day for every day you're going to be there.
Have the anchor.
Yeah. Yes.
Because a lot of times, you get back to camp, your assistant guide or whoever you're with, he's tired. He's done, and he knows he's got to provide for you. But you're like, I don't even want him to do it. No. So I say take your own jet oil, take your own MSR stove, and say, hey, I'm good. Yeah. I've got my venison casserole. I got my bison ranch, and I'm going to be happy when I go to bed tonight.
The only problem there is everyone else is going to be bumming food off you. They're all eating that food bag they got.
What can we trade, man?
So like Chad said, they're going to be bargaining. Hey, I'll trade you this for that.
Yep.
We did so much.
The good thing is, though, is that's probably worth a lot.
Yeah.
When you're back up in there.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine you can get a lot of value out of it.
Got to think you can double your value, in the back.
It's a good investment.
I would have paid $1,000 for one of those. On like day, I don't even know, maybe day 8 or day 9. I was out of the Ranch Masters, and I wanted that more than anything. And I think my buddy Nate maybe had one or Todd, I can't remember, but Dude, I seriously would have paid $1,000 for it.
No, we just did a transported hunt in Alaska for spring bear and halibut and stuff.
Yeah.
Had an awesome time, and every one of us took a hand. And this is like a fully hosted hunt, right?
Yeah.
They're cooking meals for you every day on the boat and whatever. All of us took Peak meals.
That's cool.
All
man.
of us.
That's cool.
I've started using them more just for lunches, like the new biscuits and gravy makes an awesome like brunch lunchtime meal.
Totally.
Hey, my savior at the Hunt Expo back when they had those was I'd drive by the booth and I'd be like, hey, I haven't had lunch. Do you guys have anything here that I could possibly?
I think the expo was getting mad because they got their concessions and everyone was coming to, hey, can you heat this pouch up
If I
for
buy
me?
this pouch, can you just put some water in it?
Chad's guilty.
I did a few of those.
Because it's way better. It's healthier, too. It tastes better, and it's
real
healthier
food.
than all that junk food.
It's not
Concessions.
processed.
Yeah.
Well-
Plus, I mean, the benefit, too, with these meals in particular, I mean, you get to share camp with Chad.
Yeah, he's right on the pouch.
Right? He's there. He's there with you.
Chad doesn't know this yet, but I did a solo moose hunt where I was like 16 days in Idaho.
Oh, my word.
Like backpacking. Chad and I had a lot of great heart-to-hearts. Sitting around the
It was like Tom Hanks and Wilson. It was Jared Lyle in his Peak pouch.
That's
so funny.
Like, oh, it's Chad.
Hilarious.
What would
I
Chad
could go
do?
to
I'm
bed
Ms.
now.
Wilson. I'm Ms. Wilson. Yeah.
Oh, that is
That's great.
It's the version of Chad that can't kick your butt.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just laying down next to me at night.
Whispering sweet nothings into your ear.
You got this in you, Jared.
You got it.
You can go tomorrow.
Take another bite. You
Yeah.
got it,
Yeah.
Jared. Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Hey guys, tell
Cuddling
us.
with me at night. And,
That's right. Yeah, right there.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about where Peak has gone in the last year?
Sure.
I mean, you launched these signature meals. Obviously,
Yep.
they sold out.
Yep.
Because of the COVID craze and all aspects and markets,
Yep.
it hit every outdoor industry crazy
Yes.
for stock and inventory.
Yes, it did.
Where have you come since then, and what are we
Yeah.
looking at for going into this fall?
Yeah. So last year was a great success in many ways. Obviously, the partnership that we have with Chad proved to be great in many ways. The mills sold out, did very, very well. And obviously we're up in the ante this year. The COVID, you have to start out by saying and acknowledging that there are a lot of companies that got really hurt through that process. Take politics out of it and everything. Ultimately, there was just a lot of people who had a terrible year last year.
Yep.
And more than once we referenced that in acknowledging that it wasn't a terrible year for us. We had a good year, a good strong year. You know, it's funny. You know, we focus all of our efforts and attention on the outdoor space and industry. But people who are educated in the market understand what freeze-dried food is and the fact that it's non-perishable and shelf-stable. And so people that were very concerned out of the fear of COVID obviously wanted to stock their shelves and keep product up. And they supported Peak a lot in that, especially early on in the year. Then you mix in the Chad Mendes Signature Meal Series, and that went really big, and so we experienced massive growth this past year, great growth, which cultivated a lot of additional opportunities. Our goal as a company will always be to continuously set a new standard. You know, just because, and we're biased, obviously. We believe Peak's the greatest freeze-dried meal brand that's out there, but that doesn't mean that we have to sit idle and that there isn't still a competition to further enhance those meals and create a new standard as we go. And so ultimately, this year we're upping the level in new meals. Obviously, we launched 3 new meals earlier this spring that have all done fantastic. We've continued to add new retail locations, archery shops, other shops that carry Peak, and we've grown that way.
Launched a dessert line.
Launched these new desserts just a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, and those are again kind of going back to it. It's an earned indulgence. You know, with what you see right there are literal brownie bites and cookie bites. We're not trying to, tweak them out or make them,
tell you that there's something that they're not.
Yeah,
they're a cookie and they're a brownie and they're good.
and you know, at the end of the day, they taste great. At the end of the day, you deserve it. That's our attitude with it. But so yeah, we're expanding our product line. We're expanding our visibility and reach both throughout all of North America. We're adding new retailers in Canada, Alaska. Like we're growing.
Right on.
But with that growth, and you'll probably hit on this, we've leveled up this year with inventory and to be able to sustain that growth.
I mean,
that hurt us last year, being able to keep up with the amount of growth we had.
It's a two-edged sword when you create a good product. It sells well, but sometimes it sells so fast it's hard to keep up. But from an infrastructure standpoint, being able to keep up, we've enhanced our equipment and everything we can to do and handle the volume that's coming our way. And so, yeah, our growth has been good despite the disruptions from COVID and otherwise. And we've added more to our team. We've got 3 or 4 or 5 more team members to our team helping us support all that growth. And ultimately we're not done. We've still got mills to create. We've still got products to put out there. I believe our goal as a company is to set the new standard for people's entire outdoor nutritional plan. Okay. So rather than looking at it from a market share standpoint, look at it from a calorie share standpoint. What can we bring to the table where if somebody's going out into the outdoors, can Peak provide them everything they need for their outdoor experience? And so not to tip my hat in any other direction, but ultimately we're going to continue to put out good meals and accessories to those meals to provide the best experience in all facets of your nutritional plan. And so Peak's going to continue to be aggressive. We're formulating and creating new products as we speak. They're going to come to market and again set a new standard for what's already out there. And what we care about the most is interacting as much as we can with the truly authentic users of the product, giving us that honest feedback and opinion, because that's what matters to us. It's not, if you're a weekend warrior doesn't care much about what they're putting in their pack. It might be a Snickers bar or whatever else to get them by. But people who are actually out there 10, 18, 16 days at a time, what's needed. You know exactly what's needed to get you through that. And Peak should be able to deliver in every facet of that plan. And so big things are coming. Big things are already happening. Big things are going to come this next year. And we're not done yet.
Which hopefully we have a lot more podcasts.
Hopefully we can come down and tell you some more about it. Of course. But we're still running a gun and trying to make statements. There's a lot of people that still don't know about Peak Refuel. We're 3 years old. We're still very much in the introductory phase of letting people know what we're all about. And we're out there grinding. We're out there sampling. We're out there doing all we can to introduce people. We're not afraid of that hard work. We're not afraid of doing that.
Which I think was a huge benefit last year, to piggyback on your question with this relationship and partnership with Chad in launching these new mills is we all know Chad's network and his reach and how many new people were introduced for the first time to what a freeze-dried mill was.
Yeah. And not only that, but what a freeze-dried mill is that has elk and venison and bison in it.
Yeah.
We talked about that last time is there's people who their first experience with a new type of protein or new type of meat was through this mill, and we love that. If we can be the introduction to a concept or a world that maybe you feel is too intimidating to get into and go harvest your own animal or whatever, great. Let us introduce to you what that can be, and open up a new world of food, an experience that you can.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Not this last meeting, and I get hit up a ton of people are hitting me up on social media, basically, that follow me because of the fight world, not so much of the hunting, but they've never hunted in their life, but they see me making all this different wild game stuff in my kitchen. And, and they're always saying, hey, let me buy some of that. Can I buy some of that from you? I've never had venison. I've never had wild boar. I've never, whatever it may be. And legally, obviously I can't sell it, but I'm like, look, these are mills. It's got game meats. It's a elk. You have red deer and bison. You can go out and try these, and we know that they taste good. So it's going to be a great intro for these people. Instead of just getting an elk steak and them not knowing how to make it, throw it on a grill, making it into a hockey puck for the first time and going, I don't like elk. So it's like, this is a great way to kind of intro these types of people that have never hunted or never had any type of wild game into something that is going to taste good. So they really know if it's done right, it's amazing food. So I love being a part of this. And I think this whole campaign, the campaign last year was a huge success. And it, was something that meant a lot to me because of this, because I have so many followers that don't hunt and they've never had any type of wild game that get to try this stuff. And tons of people are like, man, I've had these, was not expecting these to be that good. Good job. So, hearing that is, that's such an honor. And to me, it means a lot. So I think this year with the same meals we did last year, adding this third one and just kind of expanding that game meat feel to these people that have never tried it or have never been able to hunt themselves, I think is a great outlet for them. So I'm just pumped for these guys to finally hit the market and get back out there.
Yeah, for sure. And the other benefit in leveling up this year is, we're giving away a big hunt, fully guided by Chad, Oregon elk hunt for 2022, and a bunch of other stuff throughout the campaign that people were able to get in on and on some good stuff. And yeah, man, it's something that's innovative because there's not another freeze-dried meal company or backpacking company out there that's putting this kind of stuff in a bag. Right. And here's the thing, we're not timid about our roots either. We come from hunting backgrounds. We were raised that way, and we're not trying to ride one side of the fence. Ultimately, and I'd say this, and I know it's corny as hell, but good food brings everyone to the table.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what part or segment of the outdoor industry you're a part of. Listen, we got all types that love Peak Refuel, and that's a great thing. That's a good thing, and it introduces people to other areas of the outdoor space that maybe they haven't given enough attention to. So, yeah, it's good.
Well, it's a great benefit just to have wild game incorporated into it. Just from the simple fact that you always hear the kind of stigma of, well, it's gamey. Yeah. Like, I heard that it's kind of gamey. Yeah. Venison's a little bit gamey.
Sure.
Yep. Not at all.
Wrong.
Yeah. Like to Chad's point, they didn't know how to cook it, or the person that prepared it for them didn't know how to cook it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it helps to have these meals created by hunters who understand how to cook
the nuances.
Yeah, the nuances of everything. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And I don't know if I'm just superstitious, but I will say I eat a lot of these Peak meals each year, and so I kind of get into a routine. Like elk ragu pasta is always the day before opening day.
Got it. Yeah, I like this.
And then you save the Bison Ranch mashers for the really tough day.
Gotcha.
When you eat it in your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah, totally.
So you kind of figure out
what
what
venison
you
will be the
like
victory meal.
Yeah,
venison victory. There you go.
Yeah. So,
Speaking of superstitious, I actually have a cool story. I don't even think I've told you guys this. Last year on my Oregon elk hunt, I sat a tree stand in the morning, and I was going to do an all-day sit. I sat from sunup till, I don't know, probably about 3. And so I brought one of my elk ragu pasta into the tree stand with me, made it, I don't know, probably about noon, and sat there and ate my elk. And that was the morning / afternoon sit. And I heard way too many bugles out and about. I'm like, I can't sit here anymore. And so I got down and I ended up arrowing my bull last year. It's actually that bull right there that evening. So I don't know if there's a little connection there.
Definitely a connection.
You're welcome. You know what's unique about that?
Thank you.
What's unique about that is, or what's cool about that is Chad sent us a picture, and this was a surreal moment. Chad sent us a picture with that big bowl behind an elk ragu pouch, and it's like, dude, that's exact. Look at how this has come together. Look at how all this has come together full circle.
I think I even posted the picture of me. I'm pretty sure that afternoon, just sitting there bored in the tree stand, listening to bugles everywhere. Me with the meal, like I was eating it. I think I posted that day, and I ended up picking my bull.
That's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
That's what it's all about.
That does mess with your head, because the next time you eat a chicken pesto up there, you're going to be like, I don't know if I'm killing today.
Dude, he just kills a grouse that day. It's a shot of grouse.
There's be a chicken all of a sudden that runs across.
I'm going to whiff it.
Grouse pesto.
That's good. Now, you guys told me a little bit, these new meals, the packaging changed a little bit.
Yep.
But they're going to be available not just online.
Correct.
Is that true?
There was a
cool.
Last year we we didn't know what the response would be. The response far exceeded our expectations. And we have great retail relationships too. We're in 800 plus retail locations throughout the U.S. And they loved it. They responded well to it, and they wanted to have the opportunity to offer. And we want it to be accessible to everybody. And so there will be it's limited stock as it is each year. But we did make sure that a lot of our retailers were able to capitalize and bring some of these meals in. So when we launch on July 6th, these will be in sportsmen's warehouses all over the country and other places like that.
Wow.
to where they
bow
shops all over the
archery
country.
shops.
We catered a lot, especially to some of the smaller retailers, right, to get that opportunity and experience to carry these meals, and they're super excited about it. So our reach and our visibility on these is much more further and wide than it was last year. And we've produced a larger inventory, but it'll fly. Like it flew last year, and so people need to.
And I know there's
get it while they can.
I know there's a few people listening right now that are north of the border up in Canada.
That's
our friends.
absolutely.
It will be
It'll be
there
in
as
Canada.
well. So
and that's
to
no
answer
easy
your
task.
question, listeners. It'll be there easy.
We got a ton of that last year. Hey, we can't get this up in Canada. So this year, we went through the process because in Canada, in order to sell product on the shelf, it has to be bilingual. It has to be French and English labeling. And so we did that. So
Wow.
we made sure that all the Mendes meals.
I don't even know if Chad knows that.
Did you know that, Chad? Maybe you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
And
That's cool.
that's not a cheap investment. You're talking about print plates and everything, a whole different pouch configuration. But these will be on the shelf in Canadian stores as well.
Can I order a limited edition one? That has
Absolutely,
both?
absolutely, man. You bet, you bet. Yeah, we'll
Dude,
have
how
to stop.
cool is that? This means so much to me. Like being able to walk into a sportsman's warehouse and see my ugly mug on product, throughout the whole country. Like how freaking cool is that?
Yeah.
That's so awesome to me to be able to be a part of this, guys. It means more than you know, and it's pretty cool.
Well,
it's pretty damn cool.
This has been a fun experience. We're now in our second year working with Chad, and this is one of these rare moments in life where I think we'll look back and think, man, that was a real highlight. That was a real highlight to go through this process of creating meals and the partnership and the camaraderie that we've been able to create with us. And I say this all day long, and I'm not just saying it because Chad's here or patronizing him. It's a pleasure to work with a guy like him. He's a good man. He's just a good dude. Yeah. And the layers of him and the different areas of success in which he's had, which levels of success most of us would never see. I certainly never will have the chance to stand in an octagon. I'd be dead in 30 seconds.
He'd pay for it. I think you'd pay to let Chad knock you out in an octagon.
But the point is, despite all of those different layers and areas of success, you got a man that's humble, who's hardworking. I mean, look at his Instagram right now. You go out and he's grinding away with his other businesses and whatnot. And he's just a hard worker, good man, good family man.
Knows how to balance his life between grinding, working hard, but also be there for his daughter and his wife.
A good
new
friend.
one on the way.
A good friend. So it's been.
I'd say my wife would argue on that one. She's.
Well, sorry, Abby. It makes better podcasts if I say that.
The camaraderie and the friendships we've been able to make with Huntin Fool, with everybody. Like it's just I look back on all this and I think. Yeah, it's cool. The meals are cool, the launches are cool, but man, I love working with these people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just love the relationships, and that's.
We would have never guessed 3 years ago. I think we told this story I think last time on the podcast. So sorry if it repeats, but Seth and I sitting in the basement office and seeing an order come through on Shopify right after we ordered, and it was Chad Mendes, and
these were in the days where literally we would be sitting there for 8 hours just
looking
to get one
at the
order.
analytics. It pulled up on the TV, we got a visitor.
We may get one order today at most,
and it was Chad.
But to have him and before that, I was a huge UFC fan. I bet I've only missed a 5 pay-per-views in the last 15 years. And so I've seen all his fights. I paid for all those fights. I was a fan. and so to have his order come through like a normal customer would, it was like, are you kidding me?
I think Seth had a heart attack when
I flipped out.
Like, what's wrong? Look who just ordered on the side.
So
that is so awesome.
But then
man.
to have
I
it
love
come to this
hearing
point
that
now
story.
where we're sitting here together, we're talking, we've got 3 wonderful meals to bring to people, and it's just awesome. The camaraderie and the friendship.
And we're on the
Huntin
Huntin Fool
podcast.
podcast.
We're on the Built
Oh,
the
man,
Hunt
that
podcast,
was-
man.
You never know.
Come on,
Pinnacle
dude.
right
Man,
there.
the bromance is strong in this room.
Right?
I love it.
Take the shirt back off,
I just
Jared.
want to hold hands.
Go back to skin.
Let's hold hands.
Yeah.
Go shirtless.
Well, I'm one of those people. I
love it, though.
I'm one of those people that if you feel gratitude, you need to express it.
For sure.
And I feel gratitude every day. I feel gratitude every day for who I get to work with, the friendships I've been able to make.
For sure.
And that's all I can take with me after it's all said and done anyway. So
right.
so I.
Dad, you know what we call that? You know what we call that?
What's that, bro?
Living the dream, bro.
For real.
I will say that. I feel like I'm living the dream, no doubt.
Hashtag hard work pays off.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've always lived by the motto,
Are these
the
cold?
universe rewards.
No, we need to open
hustle.
one of these.
Yeah,
I know,
You
you guys
got the meals on the
eating
table.
that.
I'm hoping they're still warm.
Oh, yeah.
They're sitting
They're
there.
probably cold by now.
I never let them sit that long for the
I
record.
know,
When
dude.
I cook one,
I know, man.
I'm about 3 minutes in. I'm like, I'll eat it crunchy.
I know. 10-minute wait, 5 minutes too long.
Tell us about the 𝗀cie logo on the back of the package.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So 𝗀ći's been a great partner, and we've had a great experience working with those guys. I am, to this day, I believe that their program for conservation is the best. You talk about setting a new standard.
Conservation Direct.
Conservation Direct
It's
is a
unreal.
fantastic way to go about doing it. I can't. Direct is the key word there. You can see directly where investments are going to make an impact. And a perfect example of that, and Jared, you were a part of that a year or two ago when they introduced the sheep out on Antelope Island. I mean, come on, man. That was a remarkable display of true conservation. And I loved seeing that and now being able to work with them as a part of this. And obviously Chad has a great relationship, a long-standing relationship with 𝗀cie. So it made sense. It made sense to say, hey, there's a part of this that needs to be a way to actually have impact.
Double dip.
Yeah, double dip. Yeah, no problem, dude. No,
Back up.
we'll all share a
took a
pouch.
bite,
Yeah.
and you dipped again.
We'll all share a pouch.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, Austin, is when somebody else is setting a new standard, it makes sense for us to converge and come together. And I felt like 𝗀cie did that. And so, working with them and reaching out with them, we're going to support that. We're going to a portion of the proceeds of every pouch that's sold goes to Conservation Direct. When the project is needed, when that's needed, we're there. We're there as a partner, and we
It's
will
one
be.
thing just to sell mills, right, and give people a good experience, but it's another thing when you can actually have a direct impact
Have an
on
impact,
something.
make an impact on something.
Yep.
And this is a great opportunity for
Yeah.
that, especially with the relationships that we have, and it's no problem for us as a company. We don't want to be the company that just sells mills. We want to be able to leave a lasting impression on, one, people with their experience physically with our food, but also for generations to come.
Sure.
Hunting, I think I express this all the time, it's becoming more and more popular. People are having more and more kids and bringing their kids into the fold of hunting, right? Chad's got a little daughter with another child on the way. He's going to be out there teaching her the ropes or teaching them the ropes and get him into the family business, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to do this is a perfect way to be able to ensure that this is going to last for generations.
There will be
to
an
come.
opportunity for them someday.
Yep.
I can't emphasize it enough how great they've been to work with in support of all this and yeah, I mean that's the type of conservation, that's the type of effort that needs to be made. It's hard when you say, hey, a percentage will go towards conservation at large. Well, what does that really mean?
You don't know where that.
What are the different layers that investment goes to where it actually finally has an impact? Whereas, I mean, how much clearer can 𝗀cie make it? We're gonna go transplant some sheep, and that's exactly what we're gonna do.
And we're
they
going to
did
pay
it.
for all of it.
And we're gonna pay for all of it. This is where it's going. That's powerful, man.
Right.
And we want to be a part of that.
Right.
Well, I think you've created a problem here, Chad, because every time they come out with a new meal, I'm like, oh, that's my favorite, right? It was chicken Alfredo. Then it's chicken pesto, home-style chicken and rice. Then they came out with biscuits and gravy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's just one after another. And now this casserole, oh, my goodness.
Now this is
That's
limited.
some
This is
good
limited in
stuff.
quantity, right?
Yes.
So let's not oversell it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we need to get ours.
Yeah, but if
Before
you don't get one and try it on a hunt, you're crazy.
That is
good.
What do you think, guys? You like that?
I like the
Amazing.
consistency.
I don't know
It's
how
really-
he figured. Like he described it to a T.
I'm
Yeah.
double dipping.
Yeah.
I
Just
triple did
gravy
already.
milk.
Get in there.
Oh man, that was.
Well,
good.
It's just like a good down home, stick to the ribs, hearty casserole meal. It's something that you have the amazing flavors you get from the red deer, the venison. You got the rice that is your carbs, something that's going to keep you, feeling hearty and full. You got the creaminess that, right? Are you kind of getting that biscuits and gravy type flavor?
kind of
with-
country gravy flavor, white gravy flavor.
Yeah, And then you got your vegetables in there that kind of round it all off.
The carrot
so.
and the green bean.
No,
That's a good
Good
time.
combination together.
No, it's
It
a
was
hard-
a tough one to pick because the other two were really damn good as well. But I mean, I think this one was the next level for sure. So
I
glad
wish you guys
like
could
it.
get a painting of the face that people make usually when they walk up and they taste it. And they're expecting one thing, and then they get in there like,
Yeah.
wait a
I know,
minute.
man.
I think that's what we missed the most last year with
Yeah,
COVID.
with no,
Yeah.
with
It's not
no
being able to
shows.
go to shows.
We were
Yeah.
able to interact with people.
And,
Hunt
we're-
Expo and everything. It's a great
that-
time.
Like I addressed this earlier, that biggest hurdle is just getting somebody to try it.
try
Then
it.
once
Right.
they try it, game over. That's my favorite part of all shows.
Yeah, I
Is
bet.
when people walk by and they're, I've had that before. No way. And it's like, well, you haven't had this. Yes,
Right.
I have. No,
Right.
just try it. And you
Right.
give them the Alfredo, or you give them the marinara,
Yeah.
the biscuits and gravy, or one of Chad's meals. We'll be sampling these and selling them up at Total Archery Challenge this year, the two shows in Utah.
Yeah.
But having them experience it, and then, like you said, that facial expression is like,
Wait.
oh my gosh. They look in. This was in the bag.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's real food.
I just
like
poured hot water
people
in
think
and
we're
turned
like
it into a meal.
we're
Yeah.
like pulling a David Copperfield act here. Where it's like, no, this is real food.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you made it at home.
Yeah.
It's just in a bag.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, like the standard is set there for you guys, and so when I dive into a new meal, I'm expecting it to be great, but it never ceases to amaze me when I get in there. I'm like,
Well, thank you.
yeah, and you're thinking, wait, did they make a special batch for here?
For the podcast.
When it boils down to it, Garth, we're just, like I said before, we're a couple fat kids that like to eat. And normally a couple fat kids that like to eat know how to make decent food. You know what I mean? There's a reason we keep eating.
And I'd be a fat kid if I trust me.
No, but I mean, those of you listening to this podcast can't see us licking our lips, but we've been eating this here, and one of the biggest things for me, anytime I hear the word creamy or out of a bag, I think mush.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You
Right.
think it's going to be mushy, but you open this and you take a bite, and you're like, oh, that's a green bean.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a carrot.
Yeah.
Like, it looks
Texture-
normal.
And it's been
Texturally-
sitting in the bag for how long? We've
Yeah,
probably been
way
going for
longer
30,
than you
35
remember.
minutes.
Yeah.
And normally if you let it sit longer than normal, then it starts to turn into a mush. But when it's real food, real
food.
ingredients, no
And
fillers,
it's freeze-dried.
it's going to sustain and hold its structure.
It's food.
I'm like you, Austin.
It's
I
like
can't
that-
handle texture. Like I'm
Yeah, I
a
don't-
texture guy. Like if it's not good texturally, I can't even eat it.
Right.
And so having the distinguishing features of a carrot or a green bean or a piece of meat or a piece grain of rice, that all really matters in how it hits and how it delivers.
And I think you crush the creaminess. And same with the mashers. Like, I don't want to eat soup.
Right.
Right? Like, I would bring soup if I wanted to
Right.
drink it out of a
Right.
straw.
Right.
Like, this I want to eat like food, and it does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep, and that's one of the things we played around with quite a bit, going back and forth with the sample stuff, is the consistency. Because you can adjust water, you can adjust other things in them that kind of creates that soupiness or something that's a little more creamy and hearty. And same thing, like I think one of the ones we did was a little too soupy,
Yeah, it was.
if I remember.
Yeah, it was.
So we adjusted some stuff, and this is how the final product came out. So I agree with you. I agree with you on the soupiness for sure.
well, this has been awesome. Thank you guys for letting us
Thank
try
you
these
guys.
today.
having us
Appreciate
down.
you. Appreciate all you guys, do.
too.
We appreciate you. July 6th, these
July
meals
6th,
will be
July
out.
6th.
July 6th. Get them while you can. It is a limited quantity.
peakrefuel.com.
When they're out, they're out. They're done. And they will fly, especially in these retail locations.
Yeah.
They'll fly off the shelf. So
And like Seth said, there are going to be some cool giveaways throughout the promotion.
Definitely.
As long as we have inventory, right?
yeah.
There's
Yep. Oh, yeah.
a lot of
We
cool
got meals
things
up. Can I-
happening. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I talk about how we're kind of structuring the giveaway?
Yeah, do it.
Or should
Do
we
it,
keep
man.
it?
Yeah, no, do it.
This is all you, buddy.
I think this is really cool. This was
This is Chad's
cool
idea.
that.
Yeah, this is Chad's idea.
Yeah. Well, I can't. It was a buddy's idea that I relayed. I think
Just take it, Chad. Just take it.
Okay.
Skid doesn't need that credit.
Basically, so we liked, obviously, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We all know what that is. We came up with the golden ticket idea. So when people purchase a mill, when it shows them, these are going to be online sales only, no retail, right? I think that's what we do. So any online sales, you have a chance of winning different prizes. Can we talk about what those are?
Yeah, you bet.
Giving away a brand new Hoyt. We have a brand new Pelican cooler. We have a brand new Traeger. And this one's really cool. So I started a beef company called American Almond Beef, and a new rub line called the Provider Rub Series. And so we're going to put together a package of some of my beef and a 10-pack of the rubs as a giveaway as well. So basically, these things are going to show up in the box on your doorstep. You open them, you turn it over, there's going to be a golden ticket on the back of your bag. And you're going to basically peel that off, and it's going to tell you what you want. So
somebody's going to
thought that
was a nice new bow and a bunch of other cool stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Now, hopefully, USPS guys aren't just winning.
Skimming those golden tickets off.
They're going to open the box and look on all of them.
That'll be a lot of fun.
No, I think it was a pretty unique and cool, just kind of an exciting, fun way to give back to everybody that's, giving so much to us and showing the support and the love for purchasing these meals and wanting to be a part of the Peak family. So,
Chad tells us he's not much of a chef, but I'm here to tell you, it's not easy creating rubs. It's not easy creating spices. Yeah. That's down to almost the molecular level. You know what I mean? And so this guy does know what he's talking about when it comes to food and flavoring and everything else. He knows what's up.
Well, these meals prove it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They have a lot of flavor. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't need to carry salt and pepper even.
No.
Like just eat it.
No.
Yeah, just eat it.
It's ready to go.
They're dialed.
And then,
awesome. Well, that means
then
a lot,
there's
guys.
also the grand prize that we're giving away, Chad.
Yeah, you want to speak to that, Chad?
So, and that's not going to be a golden ticket. We're going to do.
It'll
we're
run
doing
the
that
duration
separately.
of the campaign with how you'll get points based on how many mills of these new Chad mills that you buy throughout the duration. But that's how you gain points.
We are going to do so. Our Fins and Feathers, a company I run, started back in 2015. Basically, the winner gets to come on an archery elk hunt with me up in Oregon, where I arrowed that bull right there. Actually, this last season. So tons of elk up there. It's a phenomenal experience. Get to chase screaming bulls pretty much every single time you get out. And that's going to be our grand prize winner. So
awesome. What's kind of cool is the last year the grand prize was a tuna fishing trip with Chad, right? And the winner is actually going with him next week.
Yeah,
he's on that.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, we have, and they've been crushing the giant tuna, like 150, 200-pound bluefin tuna right now.
Wow,
so fingers crossed we get into them in there. I want to see this guy and his girlfriend just fighting the giant.
Good time, man. Cool.
We'll see, awesome. But I think we have a good campaign going, and I'm super excited for these things to launch. So thank you guys for having us on. It does mean a lot, and it definitely spreads the word a ton. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chad. You've done a great job. Bart, Seth.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Thanks for having
everything.
us.
And we're if you are interested in trying these meals, you got to go to peakrefuel.com. Check them all out, or at a local retailer. You're going to be able to find these meals. These Chad Mendes signature meals launched July 6th. And they're limited, so you better get them. Make sure you like and subscribe our channel if you enjoy this content. And as always, give us a call at the Huntin Fool, and we'll help you out with all your hunting-related questions, including what you should be eating.